Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Tel Aviv. Coming up in today's newscast, the Israeli Prime Minister challenges a Palestinian president to a meeting. An ancient church is uncovered in the Gaza Strip, and ILTV has an exclusive interview with an Israeli hero who fought off a violent terrorist with his guitar. I'm Natasha Kirchuk here with the latest news in Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister is stepping up to the plate and saying he's cleared his schedule to meet with the president of the Palestinian Authority. Netanyahu's announcement comes just days after Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called for a meeting on Israeli television. While the Israeli Prime Minister says he's willing to get together any day, he does have one condition. Before he's willing to talk about peace, he wants to talk about Palestinian incitement.
Now, we have a lot of things to discuss, but the first item is ending the Palestinian campaign of incitement to murder Israelis. My door is always open to those who want to pursue peace with Israel.
Last week, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas gave a rare interview to Israel's Channel 2 News, and he said that he's willing to meet with the Israeli Prime Minister if he receives an invitation. The Palestinian president told the channel that he's extending a hand to Netanyahu because he believes in peace, and believes that both Israelis and Palestinians want to find a solution to the ongoing conflict.
الأمن عندنا يدخل المدارس ليفتش في المدارس شنط الأولاد إذا فيها سكاكين أم لا. لا تعرفون هذا. في مدرسة واحدة وجدنا 70 ولد يحمل وبنت يحملون سكاكين، شلحناهم وكلمناهم إنه هذا غلط. أنا لا أريدك أن تقتل وتموت، أنا أريدك أن تحيا ويحيا.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has welcomed the Palestinian leader's calls to meet and has even invited him to his office to speak.
A few days ago on Israeli television, I heard President Abbas say that if I invite him to meet, he'll come. So as I said this morning to an American congressional delegation, I'm inviting him again. I've cleared my schedule this week. Any day he can come, I'll be here.
While the Israeli government is extending a hand to President Abbas, there are major concerns that his words are not enough. The Israeli government says that Abbas has failed to condemn the ongoing wave of Palestinian attacks against Israelis that erupted last September. Even worse, Israel says that the Palestinian Authority controls much of the incitement to violence against Israel. President Mahmoud Abbas has previously praised Palestinian terrorists for killing Israelis, hailing them as martyrs and heroes.
حيي كل ذرة دم أريقت في سبيل القدس فهي دماء نظيفة، دماء نقية، دماء في سبيل الله إن شاء الله، وكل شهيد سيكون في الجنة وكل جريح سيكتب له الله الثواب.
Yet in his interview on Channel 2, Abbas claims that his security forces are making every effort possible to prevent attacks on Israelis, and that the violence would be much worse without his help. Despite the Palestinian leader's conflicting statements, Israeli President Reuven Rivlin has been trying to encourage a meeting with the president, and has even extended his own invitation to get together with Abbas. The Israeli president says that Israeli and Palestinian leaders need to find a way to build trust, and it looks like Prime Minister Netanyahu is on board with the idea since he's accepted Abbas's calls to meet. A new report shows that global military spending has risen for the first time in years, and last year alone it rose to $1.7 trillion. If you're wondering why international spending has gone up, it turns out it's driven by the battle against the Islamic State, the Saudi-led war in Yemen, and global fears about Iran. The report was released by the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, who claims there's also other factors that affected the increase, including the Chinese expansion in the South China Sea and Russia's annexation of Crimea. Israel's military spending has only increased 2.6% over the past decade, and its budget of $16.1 billion makes it the world's 15th largest defense spender. The U.S. spends the most on its military with a total of $596 billion, and China is the next largest spender with $215 billion. Israel's regional rival Iran has actually experienced a 30% drop in military expenditures over the last decade, with its budget standing at $10.3 billion in 2015. If you're wondering where the rise in global spending is coming from, it's partly due to Saudi Arabia, who was the world's third largest defense spender last year with $87.2 billion, which is double what it spent in 2006. This last year, it's the first time global military spending has risen since 2011, and a lot of the increase has come from Middle Eastern nations who are involved with the fight against the Islamic State group and the war in Yemen. The Gulf states have also expressed a lot of concern about Iran, and it's likely that they'll keep spending more on defense for as long as they see it as a threat. Exactly a month ago, a Palestinian terrorist carried out a vicious stabbing rampage in Yaffo, Tel Aviv, and he managed to kill an American tourist and leave 12 others wounded. In the chaos, one young Israeli musician tried to subdue the attacker by hitting him over the head with his guitar. And since then, his bravery has brought together Israelis from around the country. Israeli guitar hero Yishai Montgomery is here in the studio with us today to tell his story. Thanks for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
So you've been hailed as Israel's guitar hero since this tragic attack. Can you tell us about what happened on that day?
Yeah, it was evening. I was playing my guitar. I do a thing with a guitar and a didgeridoo. It's an Australian instrument that it's like a busking act. And I was doing my thing, and all of a sudden I hear people screaming. I didn't really understand what's going on at the very first few seconds. Where it was kind of a bit of a chaos kind of vibe to the whole screaming and everything. And I look up and it's kind of not really clear because it was dark and I couldn't really tell what's going on. All of a sudden I see a guy with a knife running at me and trying to stab me. So soon enough I had to snap out of it and do something about it. And basically what happened, we had the bench between each other, kind of I was sitting on the bench and he came from behind and he tried to stab me, so I jumped and he missed. And then he tried to come from, there was a bit of a distance between us, so when he came at me with a knife to try to stab me again, I hit him on the head with a guitar, and that's pretty much what happened.
And it stunned him, right?
Yeah.
Because he didn't really know what to do after that happened.
Yeah, and then the whole part after that was me chasing him to the point where the cops show up and shoot him.
Right, which is not exactly a normal reaction,
Yeah.
obviously, to run after a terrorist who is armed.
I mean, that whole situation, there's nothing normal about it. So, I mean, I was just basically acting according to what, I thought I had to do at that situation. I wasn't really thinking too much. There wasn't really time to do any thinking.
Well,
that.
a lot of people hailed you as a hero in this situation because you ultimately stopped him from hurting anybody else. So you wrecked your guitar after hitting this terrorist, but after hearing your story, Israelis from around the country kind of came together to help you replace it, right?
Yeah, there was, I think at some point where the story really hit the news and everything, and the picture with the broken guitar and all that. So I think at some point, anyone who's a friend of mine wanted to buy me a guitar, and I had to start telling people that it's okay. I'm already stacking up, it seems. I mean, I got 4 guitars out of the
Right,
whole
so
deal.
there's Israeli musicians that also
Yeah.
give you a guitar, right?
Yeah, there was Aviv Geffen. He's an Israeli rock singer that gave me a guitar and took me to one of his shows to go on stage and play, which was pretty cool, and stayed at a hotel and everything. But
And there was also a crowdfunding page that was created, so just random people donating money so that you could get yourself a new guitar.
yeah, there's a GoFundMe fundraiser going on the internet that was opened by a guy from the States that I actually need to meet in person and actually
Thank, I guess, right? Well,
thank
it's amazing that somebody from across the world, took the initiative to do that. And I mean, you're half Canadian, you're not fully Israeli, but this, having this type of experience, has it made you reconsider living in Israel, or made you appreciate the country more because of all the help that you got afterwards?
Yeah, that was pretty much, I mean, it was like kind of a weird welcome back. I mean, I was in Canada for 2.5 years. And then coming back to Israel, all your friends and connections and everything is kind of not really the way it was when you left. And all of a sudden everything just kind of comes back to you with a bit of a, this celebrity status to it, I guess. I don't know. It's a weird welcome back, with a bit of a reality check. And
But ultimately, having all this, positive feedback from everybody around you, it makes you feel good that you have a support system.
That's the best part of Israel, is the whole community aspect to it, and people really care about these kind of things. I mean, this could have happened somewhere else in the world and really not, made a big deal out of,
Absolutely.
So,
you're this musician, and you're an aspiring musician. You say this experience has put you into contact with a lot of other people in the music industry here. What are your hopes for the future now?
I really want to put together something of my own. People really, I was supposed to go to the Israeli The Voice competition, but I'm not really keen on doing covers and just performing for the sake of performing. I want to start creating something, and it's coming together. I mean, I'm starting to put together stuff and jamming out with people and really starting to work towards some sort of a vision. But yeah, it's like I'm doing it day by day. I don't think there's any shortcuts to really creating art. And
Absolutely. Well, it seems like this experience in a lot of ways has kind of helped you find yourself more in the music world. And so, again, good job. Thank you so much for everything that you did.
I did what I had to do at the situation. It wasn't really, I just basically acted.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me.
54% of the world's population lives in urban areas, and as the current refugee crisis continues, international cities are becoming even more crowded, leading to a major strain on resources. It turns out an Israeli company has a unique solution to feed and employ refugees around the world by turning city walls into green gardens.
Greenwall Israel CEO Guy Barnes says if you love Legos, then his company's new Greenwall might be just the thing for you. Greenwall Israel creates vertical plant installations that look like a wall, and the stackable plants have the potential to revolutionize urban societies. According to the UN, 66% of the world's population is expected to live in urban cities by 2050. The recent refugee crisis in Europe has already highlighted the growing problem of overpopulated cities and a lack of affordable food, and Barnes says his company might have a solution. He's already working with the U.S. Agency for International Development, the UN, and governments in Italy, Germany, Spain, and Georgia to implement his company's vertical walls for refugees. The vertical garden kits that will be supplied to refugees only cost $400, and they can be hung on any wall to grow vegetables. The refugees can then use the produce for their personal food supply or sell them to restaurants, which can help them make a profit. Barnes says the vertical plant walls not only solve the space issue, but they can also be stacked and rearranged to fit almost any wall. He believes the vertical walls are the future of urban agriculture and says they can help improve air quality and provide needed food in populated cities.
Another historical discovery has been made in the Holy Land, only this time in the Gaza Strip. A construction team breaking ground for a new shopping mall literally ended up making a groundbreaking find. They uncovered a 1,500-year-old church.
The construction workers discovered 15 pieces of the church, including segments of marble pillars with Corinthian capitals and a foundation stone with a Greek symbol for Christ.
توقع ابتداء أن يكون هذا المكان هو عبارة عن كاتدرائية أو عن كنيسة تعود لفترة الحكم البيزنطي.
Archaeologists say the ruins may be part of a Byzantine church or cathedral from 1,500 years ago. Gaza was a prosperous seaport during the Roman period, with a diverse population of Greeks, Romans, Jews, Egyptians, and Persians. In the late 4th and 5th centuries AD, there was lots of church building, and many pagan temples were destroyed.
هذه الفترة شهدت اهتمام كبير من الحكم البيزنطي بإقامة الكنائس في قطاع غزة.
It looks like the construction workers who found the ancient church may get a break from work, since the shopping center may have to be halted so excavations for more pieces of the historical landmark can continue. The Antiquities Ministry has been called in to further investigate the site, but a lack of funding may hinder their ability to continue excavating. Several historical discoveries have been made in the Gaza Strip in recent years, but poor funding and skills have prevented archaeologists from further excavating and preserving the findings.
كما تعرف بأن أعمال التنقيب تحتاج إلى إمكانات باهظة إلى ملايين من الدولارات يعني في مكان كالمكان الذي تقوم به الآن وزارة الأوقاف بالتجريف، مساحة تقريبا دونمين 2000 متر مربع بعمق 10 أمتار. يعني هذا الأمر يحتاج إلى مئات العمال وإلى ملايين الدولارات من أجل أن نقوم بأعمال تنقيب كما ينبغي أن تقوم أعمال التنقيب، من أجل أن نخرج هذه القطع الأثرية السليمة لقراءة ما عليها من نصوص.
No matter what happens, the discovery of the ancient church is a big deal for the Christian community, providing another look into the long history of Christianity in the Holy Land.
Two Israeli volleyball champions have made international history in Qatar, becoming the first team to play in an Arab state that has no ties with Israel. And that's not all. The beach volleyball duo even became the first Israeli team in the sport to qualify for a spot in the Olympics.
Ariel Hillman and Sean Feiga racked up the two historic achievements on Monday after winning their first qualifying match against a Japanese team. The Israeli volleyball duo beat their opponents by 2-0 at the FIB Qatar Open, which took place in Doha. Feiga and Hillman are the first Israeli volleyball team to compete in an Arab country, but the Israel Volleyball Association says they've been treated warmly by their hosts. The star athletes have strict protection from local forces and Israeli security guards just to stay on the safe side. Israeli athletes usually encounter a lot of challenges when it comes to competing in Arab countries, but for Israelis to compete in international sports, it's almost impossible to avoid competitions in Arab nations. Feiga and Hillman arrived in Qatar on Sunday after a long wait for visas from the Gulf state, which has no formal diplomatic ties with Israel. Their performance in Qatar will determine their rankings as they attempt to qualify for the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. It's not yet clear if an Israeli flag will be raised in Qatar during the tournament, but the Israeli Volleyball Association says they're not worried since their main goal is just to win.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Israel's ongoing issues in the Middle East can be disheartening, but it's important to stay hopeful with a little bit of savlanut, which means patience in Hebrew. Believe me when I tell you that savlanut is a key to a long and fruitful life in Israel. If you want to stay sane, you've got to be patient when it comes to waiting for your bus to arrive on time, finding a parking spot in Tel Aviv, and of course hoping for peace to arrive in the Middle East. But when things get particularly rough, Israelis like to cheer each other up by saying "Gam et Roma lo banu beyom echad," or Rome wasn't built in a day. The word savlanut comes from the word sevel, which means suffering. It makes sense since Israelis believe that your ability to cope with pain and suffering helps make you more patient and strong. And Israelis can be super patient. Just try serving in the army for 2 to 3 years. When it comes to standing in lines, though, Israelis have a real problem with savlanut. After all, you can't be perfect at everything. Don't be alarmed by all the yelling you may hear when you're braving a long line at the bank. Israelis are passionate people, so chakeh b'savlanut, or just be patient when things seem to get out of hand. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. The spring weather continues, so open your office windows. Wednesday should be mostly sunny with a high of 76 degrees. The temperature is expected to stay the same through Thursday, but the skies will be even sunnier. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.8 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv, and don't forget to check out our evening update every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tonight.